All right, today we're going to talk about completing the square. So I've already started a few of the examples for you, but what we're going to do is we're going to rate the trinomial as a square of a binomial. So let's look at number one. For number one, I already started to factor for you. So we did a times c, so this is basically 1 times 1 gives you 1. And we said b is negative 2. So what I did is I factored negative 2 into negative 1x minus 1x because they multiply to give you positive 1, but you combine them to get negative 2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to continue to factor this out, and then when you do, you're going to get x. And then here we'll factor out a negative 1, and then we'll get x minus 1. So we'll actually end up getting x minus 1 times x minus 1, or it can be written as x minus 1 squared. All right, so now here, if you're to look here, I already factored it for you, and I'm going to go ahead and group it, and I'm going to get x, and then x minus 5. Then I'm going to factor out negative 5, and I'll get x minus 5. So when you put this together, and you should be noticing something as you're looking at b and looking at what the other number is. So here, I did that, and I did x, and I got x plus 6, and then here I'm factoring out a 6. And if you notice, these are the same thing, so it's just one of them squared. All right, so now let's go back and let's look. If you notice, the b is the value divided by 2. So notice negative 2 divided by 1 is going to give you negative 1. Okay. If you notice here, negative 10 divided by 2 is giving you negative 5. And here, 12 divided by 2 gives you 6, which is that part right there. So it's when you're noticing this, it's going to be b over 2. That's a little sloppy. Sorry, I'll rewrite that. b divided by 2 is going to give you your term inside the parentheses. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to write the value of c that makes the trinomial a perfect square, and is written as a square of a binomial. So I've already started this first one for you. And what I did was I took what we had from before, where we said that b divided by 2, so we said 6 divided by 2 is 3. So what I did was I put 3 here, and then once you separate that, and because we squared it, and then you go ahead, you multiply it out, you'll get x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9. So when you combine like terms, you'll get x squared plus 6x plus 9. So your c value is going to be 9. And then we can do the same thing here. If you were to go 8 divided by 2, that equals negative 4. And make sure it's negative 8. So you're going to do x minus 4 squared, and then you'll get x minus 4, and you'll get x squared minus 4x minus 4x plus 16. Combine like terms. So if we were to look here, our c value would need to be 16 in order for this to be a perfect square. All right, so notice when you're looking at this, 4, and when we say this number, we mean this number. So start to see, so let's see if we can do the same thing and see if this holds true. So when we go ahead and we factor this, we're going to go b minus over 2. So that is going to be 4x because it's b divided by 2, which is 2. So we're going to go ahead and put that into our parentheses and see what we get. X plus 2 . Okay, well, let's check. Here's our C value. All right, so let's see what we have here and let's see if this holds true. So look at C is this number, and when we say this number, we mean this number, squared. So 2 squared equals 4. So that was the shortcut. So C is that number squared. So we didn't have to do all that work. We could have just looked at the first part and we would have been fine. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and complete the square process. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you rewrite the equation with the constant on the right. So you have to have your constant here. So in this case, we need to add 6. So we can move that over there and we get 6. All right, and if a is not equal to 1, factor only the left terms. So we're only looking at these guys, and we're going to factor out 2, and we're left with x squared minus 2x. We'll leave 6 over there. Now add b divided by 2 squared to the left of the equation. This will make a trinomial on the left that's a perfect square of the binomial when factored. If you factored out a, remember to multiply by a before you add it to the right side. So this is where it gets a little tricky. You got to make sure you remember all the steps. So in this case, b divided by 2 squared. So you've got your negative 2 divided by 2 squared, which equals negative 1 squared. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. So we're going to put that here. And then once we've got that here, don't forget to put the 2, what we factored out. All right, factor and simplify the equation. So now we can go ahead, divide both sides by 2. And now we can take the square root of both sides. And we are left with a plus or minus 2. And remember, you have your x minus 1 equals 2. Or x minus 1 equals negative 2. And then go ahead solve. So your answers are x equals 3 or x equals negative 1. You will have 2 solutions. So let's go ahead. Let's do this first one. All right, so for this, you have, first we have to add 6 to both sides. Okay, and then now we can factor out the 3. All right, now what we're going to do is we need to know that b over 2 squared is, so we just said that our b equals 2 over 2 squared. Well, that's 1 squared, which equals 1. All right, so we're going to put that back into the equation. okay, equals 6. Now, notice real quick, since we factored this 3 out, we have to do 3 times 1 on this side. All right, so make sure you even it out because it's really not 1, it's really 3 times 1. All right, now that you got that, let's divide both sides by 3. Oh, let's combine. Okay, so now let's go ahead and divide both sides by 3. All right, this is x plus 1 squared equals 3. And now we can take the square root of both sides, and you'll get x plus 1 equals positive 3, or x plus 1 equals negative 3, and then subtract 1, x equals 2, or excuse me, I forgot to take the square root, guys. My bad. I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. Okay, so x equals there it goes. I wrote the wrong number down, so I kept solving. Okay, there we go. So now let's go ahead, let's subtract 1. So we're going to get x equals negative 1 plus or minus root 3. Okay, so since we don't have anything that simplifies, this is your answer. I wrote the wrong thing at first, so that's why I started adding and doing 2 equations. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's try this one. Here, let's go ahead, add 12. All right, now we can go ahead and we're going to take b divided by 2 squared equals squared, which equals 2 squared, which equals 4. So then that 4 is your c. And we're going to put that in over here. Oops. Remember what we do to that side, we do to this side. So this is where our 4 came from. And we didn't have to multiply it by anything because we didn't factor anything else out. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's go put this as a x plus 2 squared equals 16. Now we can take the square root of both sides and get x plus 2 equals plus or minus 4. Okay, so now it's simplified, so now we know we're going to have 2 solutions. So I'm going to do x plus 2 equals 4, or x plus 2 equals negative 4. And then now subtract. You got x equals 2, or x equals, oops, these are your solutions. All right. Now let's do this last one together, and then you're going to practice the other ones. So first we need to subtract this 5 over. And we're going to get 4x squared plus 8x equals negative 5. And then now we are going to factor out of 4. All right, so now that we're going to complete the square here, so we're going to get 4. We said x squared plus 2x. Well, remember, b squared squared equals 2 over 2 squared, which equals 1 squared. which equals 1. So this is our C value. This was our B value. All right, so we are going to add 1 here equals -5. But remember, it really wasn't just a 1. It really was a plus. It's a 1 times 4, since that's what we factored before. So we're going to get 4 over x plus 1 squared equals -1. And then divide both sides by 4. All right, now take the square root of both sides. You get x plus 1 equals, now remember, you've got that negative. So this is your 1i. Oops. So you have 1/2 I. And remember, it's plus or minus. And then to finish this, all you need to do is subtract 1. And you cannot combine those because they are not like terms. So you would have -1 plus or minus 1/2 I. And that is your answer. All right, you're going to go through, you're going to finish the rest. So remember, you're just going to complete the square, finding B, that will give you C, and then just don't forget, if you were to factor it in, make sure you multiply it back in. All right, and then that is how you complete the square.